Yeah, you're that's actually a very insightful comment. And what I would say there is that shame on the managers of the people with the bad habits to say, hey, listen, this is a little dysfunctional. Or meh, it's very, vanilla. We could do better. Right. So this gets back to the whole question of how about some management training here? You expect people by osmosis to magically make it happen? In my career, Rania, I've worked with some incredibly talented managers who I learned some things from. I've also learned from some incredibly bad managers how precisely not to manage, how not to lead.
Yeah.
And I was, I guess, clever enough, and I've had enough management education to say, I know the difference, right? And sometimes when you've got, I call it the 70% problem. If you've got a manager that's just very average, okay, it's very hard to say, wow, that's exactly what I want to do. And it's very also hard to say, no, that was terrible, right? It was just very, very average, right? So the for the people who where you're picking up the bad habits, it's almost kind of like they then demonstrate the bad habits and more and more and more. And sometimes, there's an expression, if we just when the leadership finally says, okay, we need to make a change. We've invested in training. It hasn't made a difference. We've invested in coaching even, and it hasn't made a difference. The person's got to leave. And they get fired. And everybody sort of, life becomes easy again. There isn't drama. Okay, everything is easy, etc. And why? It's because that one sort of bad apple sort of poisoned an awful lot of culture. Okay, and when that poisoning happens in a remote environment, it's hard because you can't sort of like get support from your peers as easy. You've got to make the effort to do so. You can't just say, hey, let's just go out for lunch. I'd love to talk to you about such and such. I've got a challenge, right? Or hey, can we walk around the block and just talk about an issue of some sort? So this is this is a challenge, but the challenge isn't with the bad apple. The challenge is with those who manage the bad apples. Okay, and skip meetings, that kind of helps. Skip manager meetings, that can help, right? And frankly, deciding it. By the way, sometimes a bad apple is an interesting thing. If you've got a senior leader who says, we need to drive sales, that's the number one thing. Then you got a sales manager who just cracks the whip on all the salespeople in a way that is just extruding them, okay, et cetera, et cetera. And they're a terrible manager, but he or she is getting results by all this bad management, okay? So is that bad management? Or is, they only know what they know, and therefore, you know, they can't try other ways to get, and make a little bit better work environment. Like we don't want to make it, everybody doesn't have to be happy all the time, right? It's just so long as we're getting better and better. Um, I had, I'm not very good at golf. But many years ago, I thought that I would get better, and I was very busy. I hadn't played golf. I'm always going like this and like this. It was terrible, terrible at golf. I loved it, but I was terrible at it. And so I thought to myself, I'm not going to play for 2 years. And then I came back to it. But I thought to myself, I'm going to come back, but I'm going to take lessons from the golf pro. Not a bad idea. I invested myself. I take some training. I'll be a better golfer. What a surprise. I was. And I said to the golf pro, how is it that I could be a better golfer now after not golfing for all this time? And what he said is, number one, you forgot a bunch of your bad habits. And I'm helping you develop good habits. Okay. And if we are just doing the bad habits over and over and over, it starts reinforcing that. And that becomes core culturally to us as individuals. And it becomes sadly a part of the cultural landscape as well. We don't have the opportunity to say, don't do your job for 2 years and we're going to get a golf pro or a coach, whatever, in to sort of help you and everything. But what we can do is we can say, let's move the peanut little bit at a time here, and from a lot of different directions. So good question.